All right. Hi, everybody. Trying something new here on the Panther-Lair.com YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Of course, the website Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. You know, we put a lot of content on Panther-Lair.com. Every day there's something new to read, something new to discuss, some new analysis, breaking things down, some new evaluation, whatever it is, some new discussion topics. There's lots going on Panther-Lair.com kind of all the time. And so I was thinking that maybe we'll add something new to the mix, and we'll do it largely through the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So make sure you subscribe there, like this video, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss anything that we bring out. We'll also release it through the podcast. But we thought we'd do something new, kind of fill in our coverage, supplement our coverage a little bit, and it's sort of a weekend recap. We'll do it at the beginning of each week. Just kind of breaking down whatever happened over the weekend or whatever kind of stuff we put out late in the week. I mean, we do our Wednesday night show, right? The Panther-Lair show every Wednesday night at 8:30. But things happen between then and the start of the next week, and we usually just wait until the following Wednesday to talk about it. But I thought, well, maybe we'll do something extra. Maybe we'll put out a video, not a live stream, just with chat or anything like that. Just a video, quick video, 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes to talk about whatever we need to cover that happened between, from last Wednesday until the next Wednesday. And can't call it weekend update. That name's already taken. Maybe we'll call it the weekend recap, the Panther-Lair.com weekend recap. I haven't named it yet, but it's just something we're going to do. And I think this is probably a pretty good time to do it since we're coming up on June, and June's about to be what June is, where every weekend's going to have a lot of news and there's going to be a lot of things to discuss. We'll see if maybe I regret this decision when we get to July and it's not constant activity, but I think we'll always have things to talk about. So I thought we'll give you something every Monday morning, just a little update, a few topics to chew on, some things to keep an eye on for the week, whatever's going on in the world of Pitt sports, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. Of course, I said we'll do it every Monday morning. Today's Tuesday, but it's the holiday weekend, so I figured we could wait and do one here on Tuesday, kind of kick things off. And I really wanted to get it started ahead of the official visits. And so you can see up here I have a list of the 5 things we're going to talk about here. Five headlines, 5 topics we're going to run down real quick. But I didn't even put the most important one on there, which is that Pitt starts official visits this week. June 2nd, Thursday. It's the first day of official visits. And the first official visit weekend for Pitt with this 2023 recruiting class. We've got 11 guys confirmed as coming in on official visits. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday night, kind of break down those incoming official visitors more on Wednesday night. So maybe that's why I didn't put it over on the list. Maybe I just had 5 other things I wanted to talk about real quick. And so I figure we'll go through those and definitely we'll break down the official visitors on Wednesday night. We're also still confirming that all 11 of those guys are set to come in. Got my list where I started confirming here, and we're checking them off as we double check with all these guys. They all at some point said they were coming on official visits. We're still making sure those plans are in place because, look, once June starts, plans are going to change quickly. You're going to have guys set for one weekend, they're going to move to another weekend. You're going to have guys on a later weekend and they move their visits back. You're going to have guys who decide not to visit at all. There are a lot of things. It's going to happen fast, and it's going to happen, pretty frequently. There's going to be a lot of action. So those are all, we'll keep an eye on that and try and confirm things, and we'll post, certainly on the message boards at Panther-Lair.com as we confirm it. But for this, recap from the weekend, just kind of going back to stuff from even like Friday, that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about, since the show on Wednesday night. And the first one I want to point to, you can see it number 1 up there, top 5 for a priority linebacker target. That's Jordan Bass. He's from Virginia, put Pitt in his top 5 along with Virginia Tech, Boston College, Carolina, and Virginia. Pitt makes the top 5, all ACC schools. Not a huge story, but this one's a big one for a couple reasons. And Jordan Bass is from Virginia. He is a really high priority target for Pitt. He's about 6'3", 205 pounds, outside linebacker, projects at that star linebacker position, and is probably one of the coaching staff's top targets at that position in the 2023 recruiting class. So you start off there and say, okay, good for Pitt. They made the list for one of their top targets at a key position in the defense. But it goes further than that, okay, because Jordan Bass was actually on campus last week. He visited on Thursday and Friday. And why this is all really notable, and he announced his top 5 on Friday when he was on his way home or right before he got home, whatever it was. And it's really notable because I talked to Jordan Bass at the end of his visit. Did an interview, got him on the phone, and we were talking, and I kind of asked him, why'd you announce your top 5 right now? When guys put out their top 5, that's one of my first questions, is sort of the timing. What was behind it? What made you feel like this was the time right now to announce your top 5? And he said the one thing, the main reason he announced it when he did is that he was waiting to see Pitt. He wanted to find out if Pitt really was one of his top 5 schools. He wanted to see them in person to find out for sure. Now, they did a good enough job. They impressed him enough that he put them in the top 5. So that's why I think this is huge. You got a priority target at a key position, is interested enough in Pitt that before he announces his top 5, he wants to see the Panthers in person. He makes the visit, and he says, yeah, they're in my top 5. Now, he told me he's only going to take 3 official visits. He's not going to take more than 3. This is what he says. And then commit over the summer. I asked him if Pitt is... Pitt's chances of getting one of those 3 official visits, and he said no comment. You take that as you will. I think Pitt did really well with Jordan Bass over the on his visit last week, and I think it's going to be. I think they've got a really good chance of getting him on campus for an official visit. He's a high-rated 3-star prospect. He's like right on that 3-star cusp, right on that cusp of breaking through to 4-star territory. I think if they could land him, especially against all this ACC and particularly Coastal Division competition, it will be huge. So keep an eye on Jordan Bass, linebacker. We list him as a safety in the Rivals database, but he'll be an outside linebacker in college from Virginia. Number 2 headline there, an offensive lineman goes elsewhere. This is Zach Amlin. He's an offensive line prospect from New Jersey. I think he visited Pitt during the season. He came out during the spring. He was scheduled to take an official visit this month in a couple weeks. And we're still trying to confirm if he's going to make that visit because here on Monday, he announced that he was committing to Illinois. And this is a weird one because I believe Zach Amlin had 3 official visits that he was planning to take that he had scheduled for the month of June. Illinois was one of them, but he had 2 others, including Pitt. And to make the commitment now, before even going on the official visits, I didn't really get that. I don't really get the timing. I'm not sure what Zach Amlin has said about that. I haven't asked him myself about his timing or why he decided to commit when he did. But it's curious to me that he decided to do it. I don't really know what was going on there. I think he was a priority target for Pitt. Maybe not their number 1 offensive line target, but a high target. And, so it's disappointing for the coaches to lose Zach Amlin. But it's curious that he ended up deciding to go now. And what really, I think stands out, and a few Pitt fans have pointed this out, Zach Amlin is one of 2 offensive linemen who at this point, as of, we're taping this on Monday, as of Memorial Day, as of May 30th, he's one of 2 offensive linemen who have said they, have scheduled official visits to Pitt. No other offensive line prospects have scheduled official visits to Pitt yet. So that's something to keep an eye on. Now, especially if Amlin cancels his official visit, you'll be down to 1. Now, there were at least a half dozen offensive line targets with offers from Pitt who took official or unofficial visits during the spring. And I would say that all 6 of those guys, or at least 4 out of the 6 probably, are pretty good possibilities to get back on campus for official visits this month. They just haven't been scheduled yet. So I think you'll see more offensive linemen added to the mix. But right now, there's only 1. And it's actually Michael Krauns, who's one of the guys who visited this spring on an unofficial visit. So, that's an area where Pitt needs to make up a little ground. And you can look at numbers of offensive linemen on the roster. You always want to add talented offensive linemen. You always want to get better at that position. Every year you want to bring in 2 or 3 guys. You don't really ever want to have a year where you punt on that position unless you have a really small recruiting class. And Pitt's class in 2023 shouldn't be all that small. They should have room to take a couple high-quality offensive linemen, which is what they're going to need to keep the program moving forward. So that's something to keep an eye on. There are guys out there. We just got to see who they're going to get on campus for official visits. Number 3, 2024 quarterbacks to watch. Quarterback recruits in the class of 2024. And I'm bringing this one up because we ran an article here on Monday on Jakari Williams, a sophomore quarterback in Macon, Georgia. class of 2024, so he's just finishing up his sophomore year of high school. He's got an offer from Pitt. He's got about 6 other offers. Some decent schools in there. He's got a bunch of schools showing interest. He wants to go to camps at Georgia and Florida and Oklahoma and see if he can earn an offer there. But he's really emerged as one of Pitt's top quarterback targets in the 2024 recruiting class, which is important because they got Kenny Minchey in this 2023 class, and Frank Signetti and assistant quarterbacks coach Jonathan DiBiaso, they're jumping full speed ahead. They're not. They got Minchey. They're not just sitting back and saying, "Sweet, we got a 2023 kid." They're moving forward and really pushing for some of the 2024 kids as well, because quarterback recruiting happens on a sort of a faster timeline, a shorter timeline, and they need to get these guys in line. So they're hoping to get Jakari Williams up on campus for a visit in June. Williams has said he hopes he can get up to Pitt for a visit. He's already going to be going to Georgia, to Florida, to Oklahoma. Pitt has to convince him that it's a priority to get on campus. Now, I think there's a handful of guys, probably less than a half dozen, that Pitt is really honing in on with the 2024 recruiting class at quarterback. But Williams, I think, is one of them. So check out that article on Panther-Lair.com for more on Jakari Williams, his interactions with Pitt, his connections with Pitt, and his interest in Pitt. And we'll keep an eye and see if he makes it up here in June for an unofficial visit. As I say, he's just finishing up his sophomore year, so it's early. But with quarterbacks, it's never really too early. Number 4, a pair of new names on the board. So these 2 names kind of popped up. I forget when it got added to the official visit list, when they announced it. At some point last week, I think. It's Andrew and Michael Harris, 2 twins from Florida. They're both linebackers. I think, let me just make sure I get it right yet. Oh, who's that? There we go. I had to check. I mean, you have 2 twins. They're roughly the same size, but Andrew is a little bit bigger. Michael is a little bit smaller, but probably a little bit quicker, a little bit shiftier. I've heard it said he has a little more twitch. And we're going to go more into detail on this on Panther-Lair.com about these 2 guys and who they are. But nutshell, they got some pretty good offer sheets, and they've got 5 official visits scheduled for the month of June. They're going to start at Maryland, then they're going to go to UCF, Michigan State after that, Pitt, June 24th through the 26th, and then Michigan right at the end of June, 28th through the 30th. So it's a pretty good offer sheet. You know what I mean? If you've got those 5 schools already, and that adds their total offer sheet, I think, has close to 20 offers for these 2 guys. They want to go to school together. I think coaches know they're recruiting them as a package deal, and they need, they're going to have to try and get both guys and convince both guys and convince the whole family. But they're kind of new on the board for at least those of us who follow it. Kind of slipped under the radar with their offers, didn't really notice them, haven't really gotten much info on them. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to have more on Panther-Lair.com here on Tuesday morning about Andrew and Michael Harris, who these guys are and kind of what the situation is. But those are 2 interesting names to watch, both as inside linebackers. We talked about Jordan Bass from Virginia, an outside linebacker prospect. These 2 guys both kind of project to play inside, although Michael is sort of a twitchier player, maybe could play. I mean, either one of them potentially could play either middle linebacker or money linebacker. I think in the coach's mind, for the Pitt coaches, they sort of view those 2 linebacker positions not interchangeably, because the middle linebacker has certain responsibilities with calling the defense and getting set up with the checks, but sort of interchangeably as far as they're both inside the box. And so that's, you can look at both of those guys playing next to each other, potentially, in Andrew Harris and Michael Harris. So those are going to be interesting names to watch. Like I say, they're visiting a little bit later in June. They're scheduled to visit Pitt the 24th, which is the final official visit weekend Pitt is going to hold. They're going to have those twins on campus, along with a bunch of other guys. Like I say, we have about 11 visits confirmed for this coming weekend, Thursday to Saturday. Pitt has 3 big official visit weekends, and all right around that same number, 10 to 12 or 13 or so visitors for each weekend. So you're going to look at 35 or more recruits visiting this month. That final weekend is going to be a big one as well. Now, some names will get dropped off, some names will get added in. But right now, Andrew and Michael Harris, 2 guys to keep an eye on. And then the final one, Pitt ends the baseball season. Panthers lost in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament on Saturday. brought their season to an end. It was really a situation where, I mean, Pitt was being talked about as being on the bubble for the NCAA tournament field a few weeks ago, and then they really went into a tailspin to end the regular season. Lost 8 out of their final 9 games, got swept by Georgia Tech in their final series of the season. And I mean, Georgia Tech is not a bad team, but you can't get swept like that. And they were just too up and down. And the way they got swept, too, I think we talked about this on Wednesday night. You know, they lost the first game against Georgia Tech 8-7. The next game was 19-3. And then the final game of the series, 13-7. You add in the Penn State game right before that series, a one-off against Penn State. They lost 19-6. And you look at, not only did they lose 8 out of their final 9, they lost their final 4, 59-23. Combined, 59-23 over 4 games. It's when your record and your resume are sort of right on the bubble, you can't have results like that. You know, that's going to kick you out. And they were just such an inconsistent team overall. The series before the Georgia Tech series, they lost 2 out of 3 against Notre Dame, who was a top 20 team nationally. But before that, they go 2-1 in a series against Duke, who is barely inside the top 100 nationally. And in that series, they win the first one 14-4. Great big blowout win. The next game, they win 3-2. And the final game of the series, they lose 15-5. And that was just sort of what Pitt baseball was, just too inconsistent, unable to really kind of level out. Whereas, you know, even if you leveled out and still had maybe some of the losses, I mean, ultimately the losses are going to be what do you in, but getting beat the way they did, it just, I mean, ultimately it was the losses. It wasn't just the run differential, but I think it looked even worse than it was. And it was pretty bad, and then it looked even worse because of the way those games went. Valiant effort in the in the ACC tournament, when they came back to beat Georgia Tech, came back to beat Louisville to advance into the ACC, into the semifinals, as it were, but it just kind of ran out. I don't know if you want to call it ran out of luck, but they had both comeback wins in the Georgia Tech and Louisville games and just couldn't pull it off against NC State on Saturday. So kudos to Pitt baseball, Mike Bell, for getting into the semifinals. But they're gonna have to find more consistency next season for the program really to take the next step. And it's always going to be an uphill battle for Pitt baseball. You're playing, college baseball in Pittsburgh in the Northeast. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be an uphill battle. But you got to be a little more consistent. And then that probably comes with talent and just becoming a stronger program. The consistency comes with it. The talent comes first and the consistency comes after. I think that's always going to be the case. And so they need to keep adding talent to this roster. So that's some of the big things from the weekend. Like I say, this weekend coming up is a huge one with the first official visit weekend of the year. At least 11 recruits. 11 right now that we've, who have said they're going to be here on official visits. We've confirmed a handful so far. We'll keep working to confirm those throughout the week, and you can stay tuned to Panther-Lair.com for all of that. All the confirmations, the updates throughout the week. When those guys are leaving on Saturday, we'll have interviews with them. Of course, Wednesday night, we'll have our show here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com where you can, we're going to break down all of these visitors and give you a preview of what to expect, who we think might commit, and all that kind of info and insight and analysis that you're going to get. And then next Monday, we'll do this again. We'll have a Monday recap, a weekend recap show of everything that went down over the weekend, from the official visitors to Pitt's prospect camp on Sunday, because they're going to have their first camp. So I'll talk about some of the guys who stood out there. There's going to be a lot to talk about. This month of June for these recap shows is going to be easy. It's going to be interesting to see what happens once we get into July. Once we get on the other side of July, it'll be all right. I think August and then obviously into the season will be good. But July is going to be interesting. June, we'll have plenty to talk about every Monday. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. If you haven't seen it, check out our interview with Nellie Cummings. I thought it was a great interview, not because of anything I did, none of my contributions. Nellie was awesome. I thought he had a lot of great comments about why he chose Pitt, about what really, maybe the most interesting thing was how different the transfer process was for Nellie Cummings now as opposed to 5 years ago when he left Bowling Green to go to Colgate. Because 5 years ago, there was no transfer portal. 5 years ago, if you wanted to transfer, you had to email coaches. You had to reach out to coaches. Now they can all get in touch with you. He said he used to send emails all day to coaches just to find out if anybody was interested. And he went into the transfer portal this time, and within 2 minutes, he was getting emails and DMs and text messages and all that. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought the whole thing was pretty interesting. So go make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. That is big for us. It helps us get the word out about what we're putting out, our video content. Like this video and comment and all those things. We appreciate it for sure. Make sure you tune in Wednesday night at 8:30 for the Panther-Lair Show. We do that every week, the live stream. You can join the conversation, post your chat questions and comments, and we will have a little discussion there as we preview the big official visit weekend. So thanks again for checking this out. Appreciate it. It's the first one of these weekend recaps. We'll come up with a good name for it. But in the meantime, it's the Panther-Lair weekend recap, and we will, we'll talk to you Wednesday night. But have a great week, and we'll definitely see you on the message boards at Panther-Lair.com.